Hi there, in my garden podcast today, a lot of guff talked about with gardening. Pseudo-intelligentsia cognoscente, talking utter claptrap about plants. It's very hot, but the greenhouse is looking a little shabby. Some plants really happy, some plants really had enough. They're going to seed, like the basil at the back. It's 45 degrees Celsius in there, which is happy days for a lot of plants in the greenhouse, like the strawberries, and the cherry tomatoes are lush. Gorgeous. Might roast some later. We've actually had green peppers this year, and we've got chilies at the end, the chili pants. They wouldn't be very comfortable, would they? Ooh. The chili plants are really bearing fruit. Oh, chilies. So these are basil plants grown from seed, and they look okay. We've watered them, they've grown. Let's see what they taste like. Some of the leaves are still okay, but a lot of them are gone a bit yellowy and stuff, so. Basil-y. Oh, that's disgusting. That doesn't taste of basil. You think it's basil, it looks like basil, it sounds like basil, but it doesn't taste like it at all. It's very tough leaves, even though they're quite small. They're not very big, and that has not happened. That's not gone well at all. So they're past the best, if they ever were at the best. They've gone to seed. They taste disgusting. There's only one place for them, and that's back into the ground via the compost heap. Oh, right. Okay, Joey, you going to give me a hand? No, he's not. I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that, Mum. Oh, I got called Joey's mum the other day by the vet. Is that Joey's mum? Yes, I'm here to pick up Joey. Right. Don't worry, he hadn't hurt himself too badly. Ooh, just taking the lid off the compost heap, which is a piece of AstroTurf from something a few years ago that happened in the garden. But anyway, Joey's fine. He ran into some barbed wire, ran across the barbed wire, cut his right flank underneath his right armpit, you know what I mean, leg pit, and it was quite a big gash, so we got him sewn up and cleaned up and all the rest of it, and he's fine. He didn't have a walk for 2 weeks while it healed, and he was actually all right. I thought he was going to go mental, but no, he's all right. Anyway, he's fine now. Dogs bounce back, don't they, usually? Right then, let's put the basil into this medley of compost. I'm going to put my hand in gingerly because it's got a bit tall on one side, you know, when you just lazily sort of throw in the scraps from the kitchen on one side, and there's a big old slug in there. There are lots of worms and flies, and I dare say in these temperatures it's going to get quite hot, although it's very moist on top, which is good because some compost heaps can catch fire, can't they? So that's my BBC health and safety warning from the garden. Now, talking of BBC, there's a TV show on which British viewers might be familiar with, called Gardener's World. It's on a Friday night, usually from about April time, just after Easter, all the way through to September. And it basically has this fantastic presenter called Monty Don, who does little sections from his garden and tells us about stuff, and then he introduces a little film that will have been made from another part of the country, from maybe a stately home, from a garden there, or maybe from a viewer who's written in and said, I'm a dahlia expert, and you must come and see my collection of dahlias. So then we talk about dahlias, they talk about dahlias, and it's all good, interesting, and then it's back to Monty Don in his garden, and then so on. And it's a great show, and I often go, oh no, I haven't got time to watch that. And then I begin to watch it, and I can feel the weight of the world lifting from me as I relax into the world of gardening via the television. So, but last night I noticed something happening, and I realised that there is a lot of, and I want to use a rude word, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say the word guff instead. A lot of guff talked about with gardening in the same way that there is to do with art or food or films or books. And it's when people take it to a kind of intelligent level, right? Now, as you can tell, I'm quite practical. I like to think I'm down to earth, but apparently my husband says I'm not. But I'm not highly strung. I just say what it is, you know. A compost heap's a compost heap. A bed of dahlias is a bed of dahlias, right? And I noticed there was a little bit of guff being spoken on in one of these little films last night, where the interviewer went along to somebody's garden. Now, this somebody happened to be a little bit famous in that he'd done Kate Moss's hair at one point, right? And he styled Princess Diana's hair at one point, right? So he's kind of got a bit of currency and is a bit creative and artistic and all the rest of it, and hats off to him. He's probably a fantastic individual. But what was happening was that the language used around the garden, his garden and his cosmos and dahlias and lilacs and all the things that he'd planted, and hydrangea, all the stuff that we all have in our gardens or have had in our gardens at some point. She was really kind of trying to get him to go to the sort of a higher level of discussion about the planting. Have you thought about the colours that you use in your work, colouring hair, as reflected here in the palette in which you have blended these colours? I mean, really? And he went, well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of colours in hair, in the same way that there's a lot of colours in that petunia leaf. And he wasn't really biting on the whole intelligence that he was meant to step up to. The kind of, so, what led you to the choices that you've made about where you're going to... Really? And at one point she went, and he's gone for the figure of 8 in his garden. It's 2 circles with a bit of bedding round, isn't it? Yeah? Let's not overblow this stuff. And it's interesting when they have a viewer on, or a normal person, like a muggle, right? Just a normal person who's got a normal job. They don't talk in that language. It's all like, right, I like what you've done with your bedding there. Oh, lovely. Oh, yes, it's a hanging basket. I've always done hanging baskets. Watch out for this geekery, this kind of pseudo-intelligentsia cognoscente, talking utter claptrap about plants. I mean, I'm all for a bit of a chat, and I have at some points in the podcast talked about the architecture or the structure of the bed. But it's just a cosmos, isn't it? And it's just a hydrangea. Oh, look at me, sounding all Luddite-y and... Right, this compost heap isn't going to fill itself, is it? So let's get these basil plants in. In fact, I've chatted around the compost heap far too long. It does actually smell around here. Now, I think there's a problem with the way that hunky husband goes about his business with potting on, as he throws a load of soil in there, no crock pots, nothing for drainage, and then we end up with bitter basil. Bitter basil. No one likes that, do they, in their pesto? So there we go, 4 basil plants that only came from seed, so it wasn't a waste of money, a little bit of a waste of opportunity, but never mind, you learn, don't you? And I think we'll just probably buy them from the supermarket in the future. Or better still, buy them from the supermarket, put them in the greenhouse and go, hey, look what we grew. It tastes so sweet and lovely. Right, job done. I'll keep a lid on that. Don't want it catching fire.